Hello, working on 3 card spreads again. Here's another one, Absconsa Laterna, and I'll explain that a little bit later.
Okay. We see a story of opening, a casting off of armor until the crown is only light. We have the chariot, justice, and the sun. A dark lantern unveiled. Interestingly, this change transits through the center image, a figure holding a sword and scales. 3 faces stare at you in the upper parts of these images with half-lidded, straight-on gazes. The faces seem to ask, where do you go? Where do you stand? And how are you in the sun? The charioteer is ensconced in the cart and his armor. The cart enclosing the figure in the chariot disassembles, falls away like a flung cape. The light blue sconces combine with his crown to become an enhanced light blue crown on the head of justice. Then the enhanced crown combines with justice's face to become the enhanced light blue face in the sun. The short golden hair in the first frame grows longer in a braid, and then it encircles the face entirely by the last frame. The armored cups on the charioteer's shoulders become the cups in the scale. Then the 2 faces are revealed in the partially clothed figures below the sun. The idea here is you see the faces in the cups when they are being worn. Then the faces disappear from the cups. Then the faces are revealed. So the light was within this encasement, and by transiting through justice, sheds the enclosure, exposing the light. The method of protection changes and exchanges from one of strategic movement and shielding to grounding and discernment, and finally to the open protections or reassurances of transparency. The scales unmask and reveal the 2 people into the light. Follow some rules, do the right things, and we can socialize again, for example. This is a story of steeling oneself to banish fear that keeps one solitary. I personally love the way the material and physical protections transition to mental clarity and strength, then to the strength of open illumination. Usually pulling away of armor exposes vulnerability, but this combination illustrates the strength that can be maintained despite the removal of physical barriers, if done the right way.
Okay, interesting discoveries during research. The sconce, that just I was compelled to use that word, and I found that sconce is, the old Latin derivatives. I mean, these words have been evolving for a long time and from different places, right? But so they used to call a sconce a portable lantern with a screen to protect a flame. Something a little like this. This is what I had, right? And so if you were in the wind, it would be protected, and the light wouldn't blow out, right? Ensconce, sconza, this is like Latin, Italian. Abscondere is to hide. So of course, something hides in an enclosure, and that's how we used it with the chariot's lantern and his the chariot, the cart, the cabin that he's in. And Absconsa Laterna is dark lantern. And so this would be a Absconsa Laterna of sorts because it's in an enclosure, and so maybe not as bright, but it's protected. And that is the communication that we're going for here. Protected, but not as bright as when you're not enclosed. And it was through this transit card that we got there, right? Justice. So a little correspondence with my teacher, and he mentioned that he always thought of a sconce as a shell. So looking that up, it would be something like this. And he's saying the concavity of the inside, so like the concavity of a shell, this inner part is where, a very soft creature lives in there. It's protected by this outer shell. But what's funniest about that at all is that I was prompted really to call them sconces because of these, the ensconcement, and that word just came up because of these up here at the top. And I was just grabbing that word out of my general lexicon. I had to double check it though because I started to doubt. I don't work with curtains very much and stuff, and I'm like, is that really it, or is it a similar word, something that sounds like sconce? And so what I gather is that sconces are actually when it comes to curtains, it's meant to hide the apparatus that's holding the curtains up, and so it'd be things that hold on to and then the curtains, and then it would gather in between them, and so then they are ensconced by the holdings, thereby hiding the mounting apparatus. When I look at them, or what I've heard being used is that I thought the drapery itself, when it was like that, was called a sconce, but it's more regularly referred to as something that holds light, like a lamp, and of course we have sconces that candle holder of a light source, attached to a wall or an ornamental bracket, a flaming torch or candle secured in such a holder, and it comes from late Middle English and Old French, and that's where we got that other stuff. So we have this soft being that leaves the shell. By doing it correctly, is able to safely be in the light and exposed without being fearful, and having the protection of the light itself and being comfortable with that rather than being enclosed and finding your comfort that way. That was a pleasurable reading. Thanks for listening.